everyone, it's Friday and today I'll be looking at my 5 favourite plugins to use in Studio One. Before we dive in, I would like to mention that this episode is brought to you by my good friend Sergio over at Henhouse Studios.
Hi there, this is Sergio from Henhouse Studios in Spain. In my music production channel I show you some techniques, demos, reviews, tutorials, unboxings, and also some of my projects. I hope you enjoy it, so see you here.
So here I am down in the corner here. My first favorite plugin to use in Studio One is the Pro EQ, and it has had a nice little facelift, and it's also been updated since Studio One 5 came out last week. So as you can see from the window open here, it's now got these lovely meters on the side so you can keep an eye on what the levels are as far as what's coming in and out of the EQ. It also has this nice 12th octave curve now on the spectrum display, so that I think that the other one, all it had was the 3rd octave, but now you've got 12th octave there with the nice little keyboard keys underneath. The other nice addition is the phase linear low cut button here. So it's really cool to help control those bottom end frequencies and keep that phase in line. So my number 2 favorite plugin to use in Studio One is the Shep's Omni channel. So not only can you honestly use this plugin on pretty much everything, drums, bass, guitars, keys, trumpets, you name it. But what I love and use it for a lot is guitars. Now, I was lucky enough to catch up with Andrew on his mixing with the masterclass. He was going around the world doing these classes, and I was lucky enough to catch him in Brisbane, and he was going through his plugin and he decided to show us what he's been doing as far as guitars. So I'm going to show you guys today that little trick, and it works really well. I love this trick. So I've got a guitar track set up here, as you can see. And what I'll be doing is I'll be using the preamp module, the EQ module, and the compression module for this guitar sweetener, I guess you could call it. So the first thing I'll do is crank up the saturation. I usually go to about 85 there. And this is the type of saturation. So with distorted guitars, I use heavy, so it saturates a little bit more. So let's hear what that sounds. Here's the guitar itself without the plugin. So I'm going to add a little bit of preamp saturation to that. So we'll move over to the EQ section here, and in the mid EQ, what we're going to do is we're going to choose the frequency of 1400. Now this is what Andrew suggested, and there's something magical that happens around 1400. So now that that's dialed in, this is without. And this is with. As you can hear, the guitar's got a lot more character now. Now the next thing along is I grab the FET portion of the compressor here, and I'm going to have a fast attack because I want to get some of that pick out of the guitar. And I'm just going to slide the threshold until I see just a tiny bit of compression here, about -1, just flickering on there. So I really love this plugin, particularly for guitars, especially distorted guitars. It just does something to it that I really like. So here it is without the Shep's Omni channel. And here it is with. So that's the Shep's Omni channel. That's my number 2. So now for my fake masters, because I'm nowhere near a mastering engineer yet. I love using IK Multimedia's stealth limiter. So the stealth limiter I've got here on my master bus post fader. And really I don't use anything special settings or anything in particular. I basically dive in straight for the 24 3 dB boost. And obviously I keep an eye on, obviously I've got a really hot mix. I may turn that down to maybe just a little bit of input to give it a bit of drive. But other than that over my master bus seems to work really, really well. So that's number 3, is the T-Rax Stealth Limiter by IK Multimedia. So moving right along to number 4, and I'm really in happy land now having the Reason 11 rack inside Studio One. Having all those instruments and effects that I'm really used to, because I've been using Propeller Head, well they're known as the Reason Studios now. I've been using Propeller Head stuff since Rebirth at the end of the 90s. Shit, I'm old. So here we are in the Reason Suite. Here are all the instruments that are available in this one plugin, which just makes this a monster. And I really love it because I'm used to, you know, the good old redrum computer, the loop player. There's the Thor synth, which is really, really cool. I miss that a lot. I was a little bit tired of rewiring Reason into Studio One because it meant also system resources, etc. went down when you did that. But having it as a plugin now inside Studio One is amazing. So all the instruments, all the effects, there's new ones that they have now, like the chorus and the modulator effect. There's amp sims. And this is one of my favorite, actually it's probably one of my little secret weapons on bass guitar. This is the retro transformer. So it's really cool for adding some saturation to sounds, etc. I like to use it on bass because it just has this thing about it. There's this preset called bottom. And as you can see there, it looks like the old, you know, reggae rigs that they used to use where it was all bottom end. And this really does add that character nicely. So from the Reason mixer, they also have their SSL style bus compressor, channel dynamics, and EQ there. So I'll bring those up so you can have a look what they look like. As you can see, they pretty much represent what you're used to on an SSL console. As well as all the other effects. There's the Trident A-range EQ there, which I used to use a lot before moving over to Studio One, but now I've got it back in the rack again. So I can have any combination of these going, which brings me into the utilities. So the combinator basically means you could, let's say, you could stack 3 synths together in one unit, which makes this very, very powerful. I have to say that. So there's a whole heap of other different arpeggiators, etc. in there, as well as players. I'm really liking the beat map at the moment. Don't really use the drum sequencer that much because I'm a drummer. But the quad note generator is really cool for generating really quick arpeggiator type ideas, which I find lots of fun to play with. But not only that, it has all its own built-in sounds and loop library, etc. And as you can see here, I've been collecting over the years all the different refills is what they call them for Reason. So there's my number 4. It's a big one. Obviously I can use Reason standalone. It has its own sequencer and stuff. But having this inside Studio One, I would say out of the 5 would be my favorite. So getting to number 5, I spoke about this in my last video, which is Presonus's Fat Channel. So here's the Fat Channel here. So it's broken down into like a channel strip. So firstly, you have a high pass filter there and the gate expander section. Then underneath you have the the compressor section, which you can have the standard compressor, which is great for pretty much dialing in compression really quick without having to think about it too much. But there's also the other modules here. I actually use the Fairchild 670 compressor here a lot, especially on my master bus. Also EQs. I tend to use the vintage EQ a lot. It's just working for me. So here's one of the modules that actually have had an update. So anywhere that you see this State Space logo, it's had a little bit of an update. That's their modeling technology, which has been updated, and I really haven't had a chance to dive into that yet. So you can switch between EQ into compressor or compressor into equalizer, whichever way you'd like to do it, and then finally a limiter down the bottom. So that's my number 5, which is the Fat Channel.
So there's 5 of my favourite plugins to use in Studio One. Please let me know in the comments below your favourite plugins, and I will see you next week when I share with you my 5 favourite guitar players. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you then.